Hello, my friends. Is this not the scariest Halloween that you could ever imagine? You may be asking why, for what reason? It could be different reasons. We could have completely separate reasons for making this the scariest Halloween we've ever had. Today, we have a companion, a friend. You may know him as Crazy Fingers. Hey, he looks like a skeleton, alright? So I used him. And I am not going to wear that damn thing. It makes my nose itchy. It's feathers. This is actually one of the dancing bears that was given to me by a subscriber who sent me. He's like, I have some dancing bear collectibles. I don't, want them. I'll send them to you. They were in my storage space or something. It's like, cool. I love, because I'm a deadhead. He sent me like fucking 10 of them, 12 of them. I've got the whole collection over there. I'm like, sweet. So thank you, wherever you are, whoever you are. Crazy Fingers was coming along for the ride today. It's Halloween 2025. Today I was going to, well, a lot of things I was going to do. But I've been doing some thinking while I was blowing the leaves outside because realizing the place we moved into, having hundreds of maple trees, is really beautiful. But when the fall comes, there's there's a lot to clean up, right? But that's not scary. That's nature. The funny thing is, nothing in nature actually frightens me in any way. However, there are times when I've been out in the deep, dark forest by myself, and or times when I've been slightly lost. Like one time I was lost with my wife up by Mount Hood. I panicked a little bit. She kept calmer than I did, let's put it that way. I knew the implications of going the wrong way, but we found our way back. The way that we react during situations, right? The thing about Halloween, and I thought it was kind of ironic. Not ironic. No, that word's I'm using that improperly. Kind of funny, I guess, but it's the one day of the year where you can wear a mask and feel good about it. And all the rest of the year, we wear a mask all 364 days of the year and don't even admit it to one another. And it's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily something we're ever going to overcome. In fact, if we ever overcame those strange emotional masks that we have, we'd probably become pretty boring. We'd probably become, automatons. And there's nothing that I can imagine more scary, more frightening for Halloween than imagining all humans being homogenized in some sort of a Soylent Green future where, we're moving towards, right now, we are moving towards a dystopian future, it seems no matter which direction we go, just because of how society is set up. And if you bring that up, people get upset. They don't want to hear it. There was When I was younger, I thought often it was more about like politics, why people would get upset about a certain belief about climate change, or over the years you learned that it's really kind of a self-defeating fear of what could be or what would be. People don't want to hear that in the future things might not be how they are now. People don't like change, and I would say there are some who definitely love change, some who believe that extreme change is very necessary to kind of move humanity forward. And those would be like the technocrats and the accelerationists, the lunatics in charge who believe that we need more technology to get over our problems, which we've found has never been the solution. Technology helps us in many ways. It's just like science, right? The double-edged sword. You can make bombs or you can use it to make energy. But humans are always going to yearn for the worst use of anything that they can get their hands on. Not all humans, but enough of a percentage of psychopaths to make it very difficult for the rest of us to just live normally. So from a pretty young age, I was exposed to this horror show, that after reading a lot about MK Ultra and government experiments and the way that the US had lied to its population so many times. My father was in Vietnam, so I was studying that, and because I had asked myself, why did they go? Why did we go? It was something I kept pushing on, and it just seemed the answer would never come. Oh, because they were communist. It's like, well, that doesn't. Why does the United States send its soldiers over to die by the thousands in a country and carpet bomb the country next to it, Cambodia, in this whole operation to do what? What was the goal? What was the intention? And I'm definitely not going to get into why we fight wars because it's just a dumb thing humans do. That's There are some very intelligent people out there who will tell you that these wars are necessary. Um, Even very highly intelligent people who will go on about how, we need to destroy this culture because they believe this religion and they're all dangerous. Anybody who has studied anything about comparative religion or understands anything about humanity in general can call complete bullshit on this, but it doesn't matter because they're not listened to. The people with reason, the people with the actual backgrounds, are often kicked out of their own positions for telling the truth. And even though I've always known that the truth scares power more than anything, I've never really seen it in action more than I have like over the last, say, 10 years. The way, especially with the rise of the internet, the way that anybody who has any form of influence will abuse that influence. It was the rise of the influencers on the internet that convinced people that buying AG1 was a good thing, right? Hey, everybody's talking about it. The podcast circuit with the Joe Rogan's Manosphere, where he brings in these guys like Andrew Huberman and Jordan Peterson. Everybody starts listening along and saying, yeah, these guys seem to know what they're talking about. Hey, I agree with a lot of the things they've said. Who am I to doubt a neuroscientist or a psychologist, right? Well, you start to see their bullshit fall apart pretty quickly. Most people don't know shit. If you're willing to admit you don't know shit, you're doing all right. I don't know shit. I can sit here on the internet and I can talk to you all, feel confident about what I know and don't know, because I'm not selling you anything. I'm not trying to convince you to buy my fucking book by going on this podcast circuit saying, I know what I'm talking about, because I don't. I know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't mean I expect you to believe it. And one of the worst things you can do is try to convince other people to believe what you believe. However, that's also one of our biggest hangups to compromising, right? If we don't believe what the other guy believes, we frown at each other, metaphorically and literally. I mean, I guess off the top of my head, the best example of this is the way that when I tell people, well, I believe in God and I practice my own form of prayer, meditation, but I don't put on a show, right? I don't need to get dressed up to go meditate or pray or, sit and talk to a tree or talk to God out in nature. I don't need an audience to go prove that to. Now, I'm not saying that a church or a religion is necessarily that. That's not what I'm getting at, because I know that's more of a community. However, there are churches that are more like communities where everybody gets together, and then there are the ones where everybody gets in their Sunday best and they go their own ways. I don't consider that really a church. Or the ones where there's a lot of kind of chit chat about each other, and people always drown in the drama, and it's about connecting with God. My form of God is going to be different than yours, and that's fine. We'll set that aside. But I made a whole video about this, about just this fake Jesus bullshit that I've been hearing. What bothers me is the way people use the name of Jesus to justify hate, or even compare Jesus to, a vindictive person, or, it usually wouldn't bother me in the past because it was just some guy from a pulpit screaming to his flock, and they're all giving him their last dollar, in the collection plate, and he's just sucking them dry out of it and telling them it's not enough, You want to get to heaven, you got to plant the seed. And those people have grossed me out for years. I've talked about them for a long time. But it's gotten so much worse because now these people are like These are like the pastors of the members of Congress and shit, you know? These are like the guys who actually have influence now. I'm It's become so absurd where we're at right now. And the part of it that's the scariest is just the fear of how to talk about it properly without people attacking, whoever you're talking to. You have to tiptoe on fucking eggshells to get your point across without seeming like you're just somebody who just hates one guy. Like, it's funny, even with the situation with Trump, I try to make it clear, even though I mention him, it's not him. Like, this guy is like the clown of the circus, okay? And the rest of the circus is still going on behind the scenes. Now, have you ever seen the ringleaders, how they act? The ringleader archetype? Nasty man who has to take control and tell everybody what to do and hire and fire people. And there's a lot of crazy shit that goes on in the back scenes of a carnival or a circus, right? Trump plays the clown. He plays it well. But behind the scenes, the money is being made. He's making his money too, but everyone is so distracted by the clown that they don't see the rodeo. They don't see the that the net act is all faked. Everything's faked. The whole thing is set up. All the games are rigged. You try to throw the little ring over the milk bottle and see what happens. Or a dart at the balloon. But the funny thing is that metaphor came out of nowhere, but it's perfect because people who go, they know that the carnival games are rigged, right? They know that, but they still play them. And I feel like that's where we're at in America. We're all still playing the game because we're there, right? You already spent the money to get in. You're at the carnival. You're wandering around. You might as well just entertain yourself for a while. And that's kind of, I feel like, the whole Western approach to life right now. Like, and it's, if you point that out, there are people who say that's who we are. That's who we are. That's what a Christian nation is. It's like we're just consumers. Go to church on Sunday, come home. And if you dare be thoughtful about it, if you dare speak outside the box, you're ridiculed or hated by some, not by all. There's plenty of people out there who still care. There are plenty of thoughtful conversations. And yes, there are still plenty of thoughtful people who overreact or maybe get bad information, myself included. I've made many false judges of character. I try not to judge people until I know what they actually say and how they behave. But the way I feel about people is going to be extreme sometimes, and that's just how it is. We all have different viewpoints. That shouldn't affect other people. It really shouldn't. Like, there are some people who only mention, like the other day, I mentioned something about Trump, and there was a commenter who only comments when I mention Trump. Even if I put that name in a video, he comments, and that's okay. Nice guy. We've been a subscriber for a long time. The fact that we even still interact, is a good thing, right? I don't think that politics should drown out our ability to just have normal conversations about what's best for people. And that's the scariest part of all this Halloween. What has been lost? What we have forgot is important. The things that we used to talk about as Americans, like healthcare, okay? Like the current administration, all they did was talk bad about Obamacare and wanted to tear it down. And when they were asked what they were going to replace it with, they said, we'll figure something out, right? This thoughtless kind of approach to governing it should sicken Americans, but it doesn't. Not all Americans. And that's fine, you let it go, but you think healthcare, taking care of the poor, the weak, helping the people that need it the most. These are like Christian values. And the same people that are saying this is a Christian nation aren't even upholding their own values. And that sounds harsh, like I say, but it's the truth, and the truth hurts. And nobody wants to hear the truth because you're just the bad guy if you bring it up. But facts don't lie. You can look at what's going on. You look at what each generation statistically feels and believes about the prior generations. I mean, we can't play the victim no matter who we are, right? Whether you're You have a different viewpoint politically, religiously. It does not matter. You can't be the kind of person who thinks that you're always under attack as an individual. And I think that that's what's holding our society back as a whole. If somebody starts to play the victim, we got to say, no, you're not the victim. There are victims out there, but it's not the guy that's, it's not the billionaire. I'll tell you that. It's definitely not the powerful or the wealthy or those with influence. Some people just can't take criticism. And if you can't take criticism, then you haven't developed enough of your psyche as an adult human being to be able to handle that criticism. Believe me, I don't like criticism. Nobody does. Everybody overreacts to it. But some people take it to another level. They get in these revenge tactics, things like this petty bullshit that has kind of come to represent my country, I guess, but doesn't represent me. Just the politics of my country and how everyone's just fighting about, everything. So, for at least one day, we can put that mask on and say, well, I'm just going to be somebody different. I don't even have a costume this year. I don't. I was mentioning this the other day, this declaration. Oh, there we go. I'll just wear this over my face. Yeah, so I'm off. Being Halloween, I got to get some candy. Got to get prepared. We're going to sit and watch movies with my son tonight and watch scary movies and eat candy. It sounds delicious. So I'll see you next time. Be well. Take care. And yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared.